last UFO sighting.
Now, this creature is said to prowl the swamps.
Everything is a lie.
Becomes more transparent and then finally disappears.
They're a lot closer than we've been thinking. And a good Friday night to everyone out there. Hope everybody's doing well. I am Dale, and with me, Ryan. How are you, man?
I'm getting ready to sneeze, well, but I'm doing great.
Other than that, you're doing great. Well, I'm breathing heavy, so everybody forgive me if I sound a little funny. It's that time of year, folks. So, all right. Well, we've got a fun show, it looks like. For a change. We say that every show, but you know, we had the eclipse last week, so that's kind of awesome. Well, I guess technically this week. I don't know. Is it the weekend yet? Is it the weekend yet? Do you consider it the weekend?
We are 2 minutes into the weekend.
All right, we are. It's funny. We time travel. The show starts at 11 something on Friday, and then Saturday morning we're still at it. We're troopers, Ryan, you and I. And everybody who hangs out with us. Anyway, yeah, so welcome everybody. We did have the eclipse. Some people were blown away. Some called it a media event. I think it was a little bit of both. But we got some really cool stories about it, and I've got some news about it. So if you want, let's go ahead and get to the news. Ryan, you go ahead.
That sounds good. Before I start, I want to go ahead and point out I did receive an email from my service provider, and there is some kind of known issue with the connection tonight. So if I start sounding weird or skipping or something like that, just let me know out there, and I'll try to reconnect or something. So.
Sounds good. Yeah. Like I said, I'm breathing pretty poorly, so I'll probably speak less. So we'll see how this combination works out. Maybe it'll be all right. All right. So yeah, go ahead and have it the news.
All right. So first up in the news, I just wanted to briefly mention the hurricane that's coming into the south region there, headed towards Texas right now. Mm-hmm. I know we've got some listeners affected by that tonight and may not be with us, so just keep them in your thoughts and your prayers, everyone. If you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully it won't be bad. But again, if anybody wants to help out, I would look into your local Red Cross chapter, and they'll have methods, for you to donate or monetarily or with supplies, things like that.
Mm-hmm. So
I just wanted to make everybody aware of that tonight.
That's good. It's a good way to start.
Cool. So let's I'm gonna go ahead and pick things up with since this is like an eclipse themed episode. Got some eclipse themed sort of stories here.
Ooh.
So apparently, last episode we reported on warnings about the lizard man. Everybody watch out for the lizard man because he comes out during the eclipse for some reason. So I found out that there were a plethora of stories about all kinds of cryptids pretty much all over the United States.
Wow.
Too many to listen to list, but that was that was going on last week before the eclipse. So I just wanted to note a couple for my news stories. So starting with the lizard man, I found out a little more about his origins. So the first sighting of the lizard man happened in the early 70s. And what happened was a motorist was, and this happened somewhere in South Carolina where the lizard man is most famous. So
I believe it's Lee County. I had an article up earlier, actually.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So this motorist, he's coming into town and he breaks down. I think he had to change a tire or something. And before he could finish, he looked out of the tree line and on top of the car and attacked him, and he described it as somewhere between and 8 foot tall, a humanoid. He thought it was a man, but until he saw its red glowing eyes.
That internet is already acting up on you, Ryan.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. You're sounding a little bit digital, but we can still hear you, so it's not all bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know if it gets unbearable.
All right, I will.
I'll try to do something about it.
No worries. I mean, it's nothing you can control. It's like asthma and allergies and things. I mean, what are you going to do? It is.
Absolutely.
We'll go and we'll play a couple of songs and hope everything gets ironed out over the course.
Yeah.
So go right
ahead. I saw
ahead.
that email and I was like, really? Tonight? Really? Like,
yeah.
What else can try to get in the way of the show, you know?
It's always something. It has been. Well, you probably know Dark Falls. You've been here a while. It's always something. But we try.
That too, I have a Mixler site open, and it will not connect me to the chat, so I can see you guys. I'm so sorry.
Any chance your data might just give a better connection than your Wi-Fi?
It's possible. I can try to switch to that during the first break.
Sure,
see if that makes any difference.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard on the data, I wouldn't think. Just a little Skype for a few minutes.
I've got unlimited, so
okay.
No worries.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so back to this lizard man thing. So this guy, the lizard man leaped from the tree line and clutched onto the top of his car. He flips out and just dives into the car. Like I said, he was changing a tire or something. I'm not sure if he finished, but the story goes that he just kind of barely made it into town, swerving, trying to get this thing off of there, and he goes to the sheriff and reported it.
Wow.
So they get a posse together and they go out into the woods looking for it, and they didn't find anything.
A good old-fashioned hate posse. Can't beat that, can you?
So that was the first official on the books reporting of the lizard man.
Mm-hmm.
So from the get-go, they were kind of labeled as a dangerous creature.
Sure. Sounds kind of scary.
Predatorial, like most lizards are.
Sure.
So that's a little more about the lizard man. I think I'm going to do a little more digging on it, because I think there's more there, especially with so many different official news outlets. I think USA Today did a little piece on the lizard man. So that's interesting when you've got cryptids making the news because of the eclipse.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same news that the Kardashians make. So really, are you surprised? I don't know that I am anymore. I'm not sure what is even news anymore. I think the lines blur eventually. They have. I think this is that time. But yeah, that's cool though. I didn't hear any of that things were out and about and moving around and being, I don't know, stirred up. So that's neat.
There's another creature I saw a couple stories on called the Moss Man.
Ooh.
And apparently this is often mistaken for a Sasquatch until someone gets a closer look. And what it kind of made me think of the you remember the Moss Man character from Masters of the Universe?
I do.
Like they brought out the action figure, and it was pretty much just a recolor of Beast Man. He was green with the fuzzy stuff on it.
How convenient. We would have never guessed.
So apparently this is kind of the same deal. It's often mistaken for a Sasquatch, except it has red glowing eyes, and its external appearance appears to be made out of moss.
Huh.
Or other plant life, Mm-hmm. I guess in my head I'm picturing kind of a Swamp Thing looking creature.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking about. I love the Swamp Thing, for the record.
Swamp Thing's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what's notable about this creature is it's more often considered an interdimensional being.
What?
Yeah, so it's not really known to be like your everyday cryptid that you could somehow run into lurking out in the woods. It's something that takes a big paranormal event to kind of bring out, like an eclipse.
Like an eclipse, yeah. Well, there was all the rumors of, is it going to make stuff happen? And apparently maybe it did. I don't know.
Yeah, and we'll kind of touch on that a bit when we get into the Eclipse bit of the show.
Sounds good. Awesome.
In other news.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Do you have any more news in other news? All right, go ahead.
Just a small bit. I don't know if this is celebratory or what, but the Eclipse, oddly enough, was marked the 62nd anniversary to the day of the Hopkinsville incident.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, something has to fall on it, but an eclipse, that's one of those really, you could be like, all right, something's up with that kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, like Elvis's birthday probably fell near it once, but,
yeah, I don't think they're connected.
Yeah.
There was no eclipse that day or anything.
Right.
So it's completely unrelated. It's just like a crazy coincidence that we did the whole piece on the Hopkinsville thing, and happy anniversary.
Yeah.
It's the 62nd anniversary.
I read an article recently that said they may have resurfaced. It was really long read, so I was saving it for another day. But I imagine I'll get around to bringing that to the show, and we'll talk about it and see maybe there is a correlation.
Awesome. I want to hear more about these guys. Like, my whole life, I learned of the event, and I'm like, is this just a one-time thing, or what the hell was that?
Right.
These people experienced. It was clearly something. I mean, we talked all about it. I think that was 2 or 3 episodes ago. I forget what the title of the episode was, but
I can never remember the titles of the episodes, and I'm the one who titles them. But I'm like, what in the hell did I call it? I can't even remember. That's pretty poor, but
we should do a best of recordings episode.
We could do that. I can cut it.
Take a night off. Like, here's some of our best of stories.
Yeah, it'll be 3 minutes long, so get ready for that. You can fit it. You can listen to it while on the can, because that's how best we are. All right, maybe we're not that bad.
No, we're not that bad.
All right, fair enough.
Awesome.
We're awesome. I like the positivity. It's good. Well, any other news you got for us?
Anniversary. That's all I've got. I just want to say happy anniversary to Hopkinsville things, whatever you were. Stay away from my house.
Yes, and hello, lizard men.
We're going to find out what you are.
Eventually.
The case is not closed here.
We're going to learn you. We will. And you won't be I guess they're kind of a spacey cryptid right now, huh?
That's where I'm kind of categorizing it. I mean, did they see a goblin?
Right.
That's, for some people, that's a thing. Like, not really extraterrestrial, but an actual goblin.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think that's what it was. It's hard to say. I kind of lean more towards extraterrestrial, but we're gonna look into these things.
Yeah, the story kind of sounded that way, but we'll do the update story, the maybe they've returned story, and kind of find out and see if we can make some sense of it.
Sounds good. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. All right, I've got some the usual strange news, but this week I'm not looking to gross anybody out.
All right.
Yeah, no spiders and ears this week. No. All right, a new iTunes music track consisting of nothing at all has been climbing the charts.
What?
All right, it might sound like a joke, but thousands of people worldwide have already spent 99 cents on what is essentially 10 minutes of total silence. As it happens, I don't know.
Aware that they're spending this money, or
it is titled A Very Good Song, and it actually serves a very important purpose. And it's all to do with how the iPhone plays music when it has been plugged in. The problem is the device will typically start on the same song every time. An irritation has left users looking for a way to pause playback long enough for them to queue up their preferred songs. The new track does exactly that by auto-playing 10 minutes of nothing at all. Its unusual name is designed to force it to the top of a playlist, which is sorted alphabetically. It has sold over 12,000 copies.
Wow. So I'm just like, I need to come up with a get-rich-quick internet scam.
Right. It's that
So,
sort of thing. It's like these people couldn't just create their own like 10-second track and like title it #11. Well, it's not a hashtag to me, but I'm trying to be current. Like, come on, just name it 000, let it be at the top, and you can create it yourself. That same hit tune. You don't even have to pay for it. But,
so, do they know who was behind that, or?
Yeah, actually, its inventor Samir Mizrahi is now rather wealthy because of it, and he will continue to be if it continues to do well. Having sold 12,000 copies at 99 cents, you figured they'll take their cut, but I mean, even if they take 49 cents of it, what's that? $6,000 he's made on it? On silence?
It's sad that
humanity, right?
$6,000 sounds ridiculously wealthy to me.
It does.
That sad?
That is sad. It's because it is what it is. Faith says no clowns, please. Either. Okay. No clown guarantee tonight. That won't hold up forever, but at least for tonight. Yeah, Darkfall says he saw something on the news about it. Yeah, it's a legit thing. If you guys have iTunes, it is a very good song. So look it up.
It's really good, guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, now scientists have revealed the immense destructiveness of the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. The space rock that struck our planet 65 million years ago proved so devastating that it's quite remarkable that anything at all managed to survive the conditions that followed. The impact, which would have killed every living thing for hundreds of square miles, triggered massive tsunamis, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
Right.
And I've heard that it's kind of a miracle that life persisted after that.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a miracle that life came to be just in general.
Yeah.
But it's when you hear the reports on this asteroid, that it's kind of crazy that, life carried on somehow.
Yeah. By the time the effects had settled down, it says something like 80% of the Earth had gone completely extinct.
Wow.
Yeah. Our study picks up the story after the initial effects, after the earthquakes and tsunamis and the broiling. We wanted to look at the long-term consequences of the amount of soot that was created and what those consequences might have meant for the animals that were left. Basically, they're saying it was absolute Armageddon once. And my question is, does that mean it can be again? We, there was an asteroid coming at us now, but it's going to miss us, thankfully. But if it didn't, would this happen?
They, NASA apparently has some plans in the works for an inevitable asteroid, when they determine that its trajectory is not going to miss us.
Yeah. Thankfully, this new one will, because it's extremely wide. But there will always be asteroids, so I'm glad they're working on that. We share the Earth with Russia and China. I'm sure they're on it too, so I'm pretty happy about that.
So apparently we have Jupiter to thank for being a nice, lovely shield for us. Like most large objects that come into our solar system get caught by Jupiter's gravity and kind of shifted out of the way.
Jupiter knows what's up.
So Jupiter is a very awesome, brother to us.
Yeah, like a big brother looking out for you. You just can't beat that.
A very big brother. If you've heard those comparisons of, 50 planet Earths would fit inside of the red spot, kind of. Like that. I've always thought that was astonishing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is cool.
Thank you, Jupiter.
Yeah, thank you, Jupiter, for being amazing. Now, if you could help us out with this, we'd appreciate it. Since we're speaking of NASA, NASA has come up with an ambitious plan to cool down the supervolcano at Yellowstone. The natural beauty of Yellowstone National Park attracts thousands of tourists, but not far below the surface is an increasingly large chamber of molten hot magma that could erupt at any time at all. Containing as much as 200 to 600 cubic kilometers kilometers, should I say, of molten rock. This vast subterranean cavern is part of one of the largest known supervolcanoes. When it erupts, it will cause untold devastation across hundreds of square miles and impact the climate on a global scale. Now, in a renewed bid to stop this from happening, scientists at NASA have come up with an ambitious plan to turn the supervolcano into a near limitless source of geothermal energy. To do this, a hole would need to be drilled in the side of it so that water can be pumped through. When the water comes back out, it will be superheated to 600 degrees. There you go. So good for NASA.
We need to get on that.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently Yellowstone is like the pimple on prom night of our planet.
It would seem that way, yes. Devastating to the people involved. Yeah. All right. I've got one more story, and it's actually relevant to tonight's topic.
All right.
One day, the moon will have moved so far away that a total solar eclipse will just no longer be possible. Millions of people across the U.S. are preparing to watch the eclipse. This is obviously from the other day. I should have said that first. It's a relatively rare event, with the moon moving in front of the sun and all, blocking it out completely, though. Now, there's the kicker. Total eclipses occur between the sun because the sun, despite being 400 times larger than the moon, just happens to be situated 400 times further away. Which means what? That they're the same size in appearance for us. As it happens, though.
An amazing thing just to kind of think about for a second.
It's like the hobgoblins just happened to fall on that day and whatever. Just a thought. But yeah, it is. It's something, isn't it? As it happens, the moon is actually moving away from our planet slowly but surely, meaning that one day in the distant future, this alignment will be no longer possible. So, I hope you enjoyed it, is the point, I believe. Because it just won't happen someday. Someday it just will not happen again.
Someday they say we won't have a moon at all.
Mm-hmm.
The moon, I think they say, moves like an inch further away from the Earth, I think, every 10 years or something like that.
Right.
So it's an extremely slow process, but it's happening. It's going to be long after you and I are gone. But one of these days, and I wonder, what is that going to look like? It's going to be like, and get flung out into space.
All right, I want to throw this out there to anybody new to tuning in. Ryan's internet is acting up, and I am a little short breathed tonight, so bear with us. We're struggling, but we're gonna get through this. We will, one way or the other. Mookie Mook,
do it.
I think with the geothermal energy plan, that they basically hope to take the gunpowder out of the bullet, I think, over time. But really, they're racing the clock, so I don't know. We'll just have to see how that works out. Unfortunately,
it's dangerously gotten to the point where I think they say, this could go down at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of deal,
Yeah,
and
it literally any time. Tomorrow, it could happen.
Sort of related to this, is the big superquake. I don't know if you've heard about this, that would happen along the fault line, near Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a large plate beneath the U.S., and what they're saying is with this superquake is that it's basically building tension right now and has been for, I don't know, since before the U.S. was here, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And one day that is essentially going to snap back. And essentially you're going to, like, the entire western U.S. is going to shift all at once. Which means, a massive quake. Like none that we've ever had, in our lifetimes. And they're saying that that's kind of a, it could happen any moment kind of deal.
Well, that's fun, right?
It's
exciting walking that line every day.
This is a major bummer, but I've read several, statements from the people that study this that say, I don't know, like I quote, I don't know why people make residents out in like Oregon right now, like in Portland and things like that.
I feel the same way about like down in the Gulf around Florida, Texas, Louisiana. Just the weather, man. You're strategically not the smartest place to put your money. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. But I agree with that too. And then Japan gets the tsunamis. I've always wondered the perfect place, and I think Canada just might be close.
Maybe.
Politically and weather-wise, it might not be all that bad. A little cold, but they've got it figured out.
Yeah, I can deal with the cold as long as the ground beneath me isn't exploding or shaking, and our brilliant leaders aren't trying to get us killed.
We're simple fellows. We don't ask for a lot. Good health and to not die somehow in a terrible earthquake, right?
I don't want to die in an earthquake or a nuclear explosion or a super volcano.
Agree.
That's not too much to ask, is it?
I really don't think so. I think people ask more out of life, and we're trying to keep it simple. Mookie Mook says Virginia is hollow underneath. Well,
now, do you remember our earthquake that we had? I think it's been like 2 years ago now.
I don't, because you know what? I talked to you. Yeah, I do. We didn't have it here, but
so this was the least remarkable earthquake of all time, I think. But it actually happened.
Don't taunt it. Don't.
I was at work, and it literally felt like somebody put their hand on the back of my chair and kind of like shook me for half a second. Like it made that's it. That's the effects of this earthquake. It made me spin around in my chair to see who like touched my chair.
I don't know what everybody's pissing and moaning about. That wasn't bad, right?
But it was enough to like make everybody in the building kind of like stand up and look around. Like, did you guys feel something for like a millisecond?
It's Cthulhu, man. It's down there.
Yeah.
Cthulhu's gonna bust through your floor at work one day.
Take me.
Darkfall says, I feel that way about San Francisco. Yeah. California just flowed off in general. Remember hearing that all the time.
That was a thing back in elementary school.
There is an album.
By the time you guys are 30, like California is just going to break off and float away.
Mm-hmm. The band Tool, that was like a picture of that, like on the inside of one of their album covers, like California just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a thing too. If you're into Tool, then I believe it was the Anima album. Pretty sure that's right. I'm pretty sure there's some words about that in one of the songs too. Well, that's all I got for news. There may not always be solar eclipse. I'm going to call them eclipse because that sounds like a good plural for it. It's not the right one, but it sounds good. So
right on. So do you want to take a small break and then dive into this eclipse stuff?
Yeah. Are you going to stick here with your Wi-Fi, or are you going to try to switch over to data? I can give you extra time if you need it.
It'll just take me 30 seconds or so to make the switch. So you can play a promo or something. I'll be back and by the time it's done.
All right, sounds good. Well, we shall return, guys, and thanks everybody again for hanging out with us. We'll be right back.
Do you hate the Ghostbusters? I hate the Ghostbusters. If you're like me, then you should not tune in to the Retro After Dark radio show.
Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever heard voices? Maybe you know someone who has. If you're afraid to share your story, there's not always an outlet, and sometimes it's scary. But don't worry about being judged. Come and hang out with us at Spook House Radio, and we'd love to hear your story. Write us an email or come hop in chat. We go live every Friday night at midnight, and we'd love to have you and your story.
Spook House Radio.
Hope you're enjoying the show tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. But the fun doesn't have to stop there. If you head over to midnightspookhouse.com, you can download all the old episodes and listen to them as you want. Also, feel free to use the contact link and send us your messages. We might read them on air. Once again, head over to midnightspookhouse.com. And we have returned. Ryan was coming back in just about the end of the little return music, so I went ahead and fired one more to give you a second. Ryan, are you with us, man?
Yeah, how does that sound?
Yeah, no, that sounds incredible. Compared to before, amazing, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay.
Awesome. All right,
deal.
so things could be looking up. That's what we're hoping. All right, Ryan. Solar eclipses. You want to tell us a little bit about them? Do you know the history on them?
So yeah, the science behind them.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I was just curious what you had on it.
Yeah, well, I thought what we would do first is, we can kind of talk about what it is, and I thought we could kind of give a little playback of how that day went for us.
Sure,
and what we thought of the event, and then we'll get into because I've talked to several people the day after, and it left them feeling not themselves.
Huh.
Which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
I felt some changes even myself, but we'll get into that in a moment.
Neat. I haven't heard these, so this will be new to me too.
Right on. So we know a solar eclipse happens when as we were talking earlier, the moon essentially lines up perfectly with the sun, and because you said the sun, I think, is 4,000 times the size of our moon.
Mm-hmm.
But
400 times, if I'm not mistaken.
400 times. But coincidentally, it is 400 times the distance away, making for essentially a perfect match in shape.
I've got a neat little fact for you guys about the sun. It is the only star / planet / thing in the solar system that the outer atmosphere is actually hotter than the surface itself, and scientists are like, "What?" It's kind of
interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, right?
When will we land there?
Right. We can't get through the hottest layer to get to the slightly less hot layer, so I don't know.
That's the problem.
It's gonna be a while. That's all it is, though. Yeah, it's like we can't put on aluminum foil suits because in a microwave, what happens? They're afraid it'll happen to the going through the sun. All right, we're getting really stupid here. Let's try to get back on track. Cool fact, though.
So talking about my experience with it, I'll just say that thank you to the people at work that bothered to get the special glasses so we could look at it happening.
Right.
That's what made it the most interesting thing for me. I think overall it was for our area. I think we had like 95% coverage, which means that we didn't get a 100% totality. Which when that happens, it actually becomes night outside for a few moments.
Right.
I think that even though we weren't getting totality, I think it was kind of oversold to us.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
In this area.
We were sold 98% here. I'll save my thoughts, but you go right ahead.
Well, they told us, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to get nighttime outside, and it's going to look really strange out. You're not going to see like the solar winds or illuminated or anything like that. Like with totality, but it'll get just as dark, and that didn't really happen. It did look really interesting outside. It got darker, almost as like a thunderstorm had rolled in or something.
Mm-hmm. It looked strange, right?
Yeah, it was. I was talking to my brother about it, and he put it the best way. I think it looked, rather than just looking dark outside, it looked like you put a pair of shades on.
Yeah, I can accept that.
Like a weird hazy kind of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
but kind of an artificial darkness sort of appearance to it.
It really was. It was very weird looking. Everything looked, it looked like, I remember looking out and I don't know. It's almost like the sun changed to like an LED light, because the ground color was different. Like everything just looked different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to chime in about that, but I agree. It was just a funky look, really.
So, I think we kind of experienced the same sort of thing there, just looking out at the day and everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was fascinated with the shadows that, it caused trees and bushes to cast and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could do that neat science experiment, you poke a hole in a piece of paper or something and let the light shine through it, and it would make like a little crescent, light.
Right.
So you could actually use that if you didn't have glasses to check the phase of the eclipse that you were in.
Science is good.
So that was neat. It was a very sciencey afternoon. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. I guess I can't honestly say I did. I was at home, and the kid was home, so that was awesome. And I watched it. I started watching at like 11 o'clock because NASA was streaming it and stuff, and they had all these different sites that you could watch the stream from. And I watched the one on top of the Smokies.
I tell you, that's kind of where it was at. If you couldn't actually get out to where there was 100% totality, like the NASA stream, had you covered.
Right.
That was pretty much what you were missing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's how it looked. But let's talk about how it made people feel. I felt just absolutely exhausted that evening and the next day after. Like, almost, I haven't done this since, my 20s, playing, an online RPG or something and just not sleeping for 2 days.
You mean early 20s, right? Because our 20s aren't that far away, actually, but the early ones, yeah.
So yeah, it felt like that. Like, I remember sitting down on the couch like, oh man, I could go to bed like right now. I feel exhausted. And I talked to some people at work that I viewed the eclipse with, and they reported the same thing.
Well, how neat.
But just felt just abnormally tired. Another couple of friends said that it made them feel really depressed. Actually,
well, I kind of did too. I was all hyped, and then it sucked, sort of. No, different kind of depressed though, right?
Yeah, more like they couldn't explain it, but they were just sad for no reason. And apparently there is a scientific explanation behind that.
Oh yeah?
I looked into it a little bit, and the effect is called shuddering, I believe.
Okay.
So what's happening to your body, and this is especially true with office workers who witness an event like this, which all of us were, you're going outside and you're exposing yourself to an extremely bright...
Never go outside and expose yourself. That'll get you put in jail quick.
Yeah, there you go.
I have to make the joke. Come on, go ahead.
You gotta. That's your thing.
It is my thing. I'm the bad news guy, and I'm the poor joke guy. Go ahead.
So you're exposing yourself to a lot of heat, solar radiation, things like that. But it's extremely bright out, and then you're rapidly, you go back into the building for whatever reason, and you're exposing yourself to those dim artificial, office lights. And when I look back at the event, we were doing that. We'd go out and kind of look at the eclipse to see how far it had moved along, and then we'd go back in and kind of hang out and then do it again. And where you're rapidly changing the light, your biology can't really handle that.
That makes sense. We're indoorsmen these days.
Yeah.
I wonder if the pioneers and things would feel the same way. You know, way back when they would, they'd be sitting on a wagon all the time or out working in a field. I wonder if it would affect them the same.
So the answer to that is yes, but probably not to the extent that we felt it, because we were kind of doing like a lights on, lights off.
So it's built
lights
in.
on and off, you know.
So it's built in and going to happen no matter what, just not to the same level, depending, I guess, huh?
Exactly.
Okay,
So the
that's
theory
cool.
is, we're actually really in tune with, the solar cycle, in that, your body, wherever you live in on the earth, becomes used to, the solar cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and how where the position of the moon and the sun and everything. So on a typical day, you know, your body, you know, essentially stays in an awake state until, you know, the sun starts to go down and it becomes dark outside.
Right.
Think of it as kind of a really slow powering down kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go out, when there's an event like a solar eclipse, when you go out and view that and the light is dimming outside, your body internally is thinking, oh, it's like 9 o'clock now, for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even though it was like 2
Yeah,
o'clock.
it's like one of those naps you wake up and you're like, did I sleep all night? No, it's 6 p.m., not 6 a.m. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
So the theory is that it essentially confuses the hell out of your internal biology, your internal clock, if you will.
Right.
So your body kind of goes into that, you know, powering down state. You know, it's 9 o'clock in the evening, you know, we'll start getting ready for bed.
How old are we?
But then, this is everyone, children too. And looking back, you know, my kids went to bed super early that night too, and their school kind of made a day of it,
Mm-hmm.
like watching the eclipse and everything.
That's cool though.
So yeah, your body goes into its sort of night cycle for that 2 minutes or so that the eclipse lasts, and then it's like, oh hey, crap, it's actually like daytime again, and it just confuses your biology. Like, have I lost a day? It's like that nap effect you mentioned. It's like, did I sleep the whole night through and it's the next day? Or
that's breaking it down and tell it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. That's what that is. Yeah. The nap effect, we'll call it, scientifically speaking.
That is the best way to think of it, though.
I do wonder, you mention all this and you know, and apparently it's true. Does that mean there is something to astrology, the astrological signs? Probably not the ones in the paper or the ones in fortune cookies, but is there something to it that, you know, I'm an Aries. You're what? You're also an Aries, aren't you?
I am.
You know, Megan's an Aries too. Is that weird? We're all, speaking of Megan, actually, I've been looking at her for about 3 solid minutes, and it's just better if I leave her muted. No, I'm totally joking. Hey. Megan is with us, and we're all Aries here.
Just kind of wondering, when should I jump in?
Yeah, she was kind of looking at her phone. She's like, do you have this pulled up? And I was like, I don't know. Let's just do this thing. Because that's how we approach the shows, non-professionally. Faith is also an Aries. How cool is that?
Oh, wow. Team Aries.
Yeah, Team Aries. I want to go back just a little bit on the messages. Faith said she got Employee of the Week because she's one of the only ones to bring her eclipse glasses. Awesome.
Right Good job.
Yeah. Yeah, you nailed it. Dark Falls says everything looked kind of surreal. And he said circadian rhythm, which was speaking to what you were just saying. Also, she said it looked like a filter on a picture outside. It did. It looked like one of those really weird pictures.
Instagram filter.
Yeah.
It is. It's so hard to describe, like it. But I like the sort of LED description. Like, this doesn't feel like sunlight right now.
It doesn't.
You know?
Yeah, it's weird looking. It's one of those things that you had to see it, and I'm sure you all did, to really understand what that would mean. You can't really tell that to your children in 20 years. It looks sort of like an LED.
Yeah.
Shut up, Dad. Everything looks like an LED. You're stupid. That's how kids will be in 20 years, probably.
I tried to take photos of just my surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did a before shot before the eclipse and then after, and it just wasn't conveyed in the photos.
Yeah.
It just looks like normally dark outside in my photos.
Well, you know,
So,
the sun's got its own filters. It doesn't need our
Yeah.
Instagrams and Snapchats. So
yeah. So maybe I could fake it.
that's what you should have did. You should have made it
here's what it
completely
looked
black and white and then like painted a flower pink and been like, this happened outside. I can't believe it. One pink flower and everything else was completely black and white.
That's a way to scare your grandkids.
Oh, there you
Like
go.
just invert the colors.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what happened. The colors were inverted.
That would be
Dogs and cats were speaking to each other.
really with the Facebook
It's
ding.
bad.
Sorry, it was you.
It was me. I'm not Facebooking anybody. She's just getting my Facebook apparently from earlier. Real professional thing we're doing here. Real professional. The nap effect and Facebook things. All right. Well, that's sort of kind of the science behind our day. Now, just tell us more,
So,
Ryan. I'm hungry for knowledge.
So before we get back to that, you asked the question about astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is kind of something to that. But I think it gets cheapened these days by, like you said, the newspaper ads and
Right.
things like that. And people that really, look into it beyond the newspaper ads, they can tell you more about it. So if you'd like to speak on that, any listeners, we'd love to hear about it. I think that there's something going on there, but I don't really know much about it.
That's it. Yeah, we don't.
But that's my opinion on it. Just that, the newspaper ads and the palm readers and everything of the world, they kind of, they cheapen the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
They give it a bad rap.
Yeah, it's like the fake ghost hunters and, the fake abductees and things. You're really cheapening it for the people who deal with that.
Yeah.
Don't be that way, man. That's not, I don't know. It's just this whole field. There's so many people. It's okay to naysay maybe, to be, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if I believe it. Or to even say it's probably not true. That's fine, but you ain't gotta, you don't have to, what's the right word for it? You don't have to, I don't know. I guess we'll just go with cheapen it. You don't have to cheapen it for the rest of the people because, you are, and you make people afraid to tell their stories. So,
Yeah, that's the truth.
So just don't do that. Public service announcement of the night. Just don't be that way. All right.
Don't be a negative Nancy.
That's it. Don't be a negative Nancy.
If we're using the nap time effect, and I had to throw in negative Nancy.
We have to retitle this show the nap effect. I just feel it in my blood. I never said that before, but
I do believe in the nap effect, and I hate that feeling.
Isn't it terrible? Yeah. It's awesome when you wake up at like 4 a.m. and you're like, God, I still got a couple hours to sleep. But it sucks when you come home from school or work and you sleep for an hour and it's like you see 7:30 and you're like, oh my God, I overslept all night long.
Is it 7:30 a.m.? Oh,
Right.
shit. What's happening?
Yeah, what the hell just happened? Yeah, that's not okay. Everybody knows that one though, scientifically speaking. All right, now, it wasn't always this clear scientifically. There were, you can imagine, take yourself back.
How
What?
far back?
It's hard to it's
Ancient.
hard to imagine.
That's how far.
Like, we have a complete understanding of what is happening in the sky. When the eclipse happens,
Mm-hmm.
there's really nothing that astonishing about it. It's really just coincidentally things are lining up in a really cool manner right now, and it's going to look really neat. That's about all there is to it. But think back then to a time, when we thought the Earth was flat,
Mhm.
we don't really understand, solar cycle and things like that.
Right. Seriously, think about not knowing anything science, other than we exist. We don't know why, and that's about that. And then
So to paint-
one day it's dark at 2:00
For no reason.
for no
Just
reason.
out of the blue.
And that kind of sets up some of the old myths, we'll call them, because they are, unfortunately. But they're really interesting.
They are. And, gosh, it's just so hard to imagine. Like, paint a picture, you know.
Yeah.
The sun is like the light source, you know, it makes your crops grow and everything. Like, to try to, like, understand what's happening. Like, you might think, some cultures think, you know, a monster is devouring the sun.
Yep.
Or
That's
the
one of them.
gods are taking the sun away from us because we've angered them.
Right.
And now we have to do something to please them. So that's kind of a nutshell of what we're about to get into.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you want to tackle that?
I'll
How
tell
do
you
you want
what. Let's do this. Do you have any of them written down, or do we need to read them and just let you kind of discuss them with us? Or
Oh, we can do it that way.
all right,
If you want
that's
to read
fine.
some of the more interesting ones.
Since Megan's here, I'll let her read
Because
some
I
of them.
just have
right.
some sort of nutshell examples.
Okay, that's good too. That's
One
good
of the cooler things I thought was that I have found is the different people all over the world in all different regions came up with different beings that were devouring the sun.
Yep,
That
Sure
seems to
did.
be like a common thing. Like, and it makes sense if you look at it. You know, it's kind of like something is eating the sun. It's like Cookie Monster took a big bite.
Yeah, cookie.
You know? So, for example, just some of them, North America, Native Americans, they associated that with a great bear.
Yeah,
In the sky that was getting his snack on.
All
I
right.
think in Korea it was theirs was a frog. I think a giant frog. Where was it? Had a there was a snake in India. I think.
yeah, I've got them here. So
All right, let's go through them.
let's give a little bit of the story. These are interesting stories. Even if you don't really care about the background of the eclipse, I promise you that these stories are neat. Again, take yourself back and think about what it would be like to have no idea scientifically, and it be the very first time it happened. You're probably going to stare right at it like, what the hell is going on? And there's probably going to be a lot of people with burnout corneas. That's just the reality of it. So
And it kind of goes. That might lead you to believe, you know, the God was angry with us.
yeah.
You know, whatever they believed in at that point. But another thing I want to note before we get into this is,
All right.
I think it kind of ties into, you know, our study of the paranormal anyway, because a lot of what we discuss, we just don't have the answers for. You
Yeah.
know, so
When
are
you
we-
simplify it, it makes us sound kind of like we're putting on a show, but we're not actually doing anything, though.
Yeah. All right, so let's have one of
All
these
right.
stories.
You ready for this?
Regale us with a tale of misunderstanding.
All right, let's do this then. Okay, Viking skywolves, Korean fire dogs, and African versions of celestial reconciliation. There are only some of the many ways that people around the world through the ages have sought to explain it. If you do a worldwide survey of the lore, the theme that constantly appears with few exceptions is it's always a disruption of the established order, which I can see that. People depend on the sun. It's regular, it's dependable, and you can't tamper with it. And then all of a sudden, Shakespearean tragedy arrives, and time is out of joint. The sun and the moon do something they shouldn't be doing. That sounds
See, that's
dirty.
the one thing. That's the one thing in your life that is a sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
That the sun is there. The sun will be there tomorrow. It's
Supernova
right
or
on
not,
time.
supernova be damned. That sun.
Can I sing it?
What? Champagne
The sun will
supernova?
come out tomorrow.
All right. She's that person on the show, if you don't know that already. We need that person, though. All right. Now, here's one. Many cultures explain them, both solar and lunar, as a time with demons or animals consume the sun or the moon. The Vikings saw a pair of sky wolves chasing the sun or the moon. said the Griffith Observatory astronomer. When one of the wolves caught either of the shining orbs, an eclipse would result. In Vietnam, a frog or a toad, the moon or the sun, he added. In fact, the earliest word for eclipse in Chinese is shih. Shi means to eat. So that's kind of cool. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up on mine that they thought it was a dragon in China.
Ooh, I like dragons. Speaking of dragons, there's a dead dragon. Spoiler alert.
Stop
We won't
it.
say in what, but
Okay, so
I don't care about it, so it doesn't bother me at all.
stop it. I just wanted to tag on the Chinese would shoot arrows at the eclipse to kill the dragon that was eating their son. And,
Oh wow! So they actually engaged the eclipse in combat.
Yeah, and even as late as the 19th century, the Chinese sailors would be spotted firing cannons at the eclipse in hope of stopping the dragon.
Well,
Wow.
yeah, that's cool. Sorry, Dark Falls. I want to apologize. My chat window didn't update at all. He says he's a Scorpio. He likes long walks under solar eclipse eye, the word I made up earlier. But no, he says, yeah, it ruins it for people that are serious about parapsychology. It does. Don't be a hater. Take your haterade on somewhere else, guy. We don't need it. And he also says even the ancient people knew the sun was necessary for life. Yes, they did. There's so many cool stories. Let's go ahead and get to a couple of them. The Egyptians. Megan, would you like to take that one?
Absolutely. Although sun worship was extremely prevalent in ancient Egypt, surprisingly little is known of their beliefs surrounding eclipses. There is virtually no mention of solar eclipses. However, because the sun played such a prominent role in their society, some experts have suggested an eclipse would have been terrifying. One theory says the ancient Egyptians were so scared of it, they regarded it as too evil of an omen to write about.
That's like saying everybody's terrified of Voldemort, so nobody speaks his name.
He should not be named. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of that. It's kind of the Voldemort for the Egyptians. Neat. I can dig that.
Yeah.
I would be terrified because that's way back. That's going back. And then you think, all right, think about in the 1800s. It's, you can kind of come to grips with life and the universe just a little, but you're talking way back then. It's like you have no idea, like what makes you can barely grow plants yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, just think about it. And then the Mayans, imagine the Mayans, they're newer than the Egyptians and they still don't know what the hell's going on too well.
No.
They never finished their
the
calendar.
buzzkill.
They're incomplete in my book. Come back and finish your calendar. It's not, all right. Bad joke. All right. In 2000.
I'm gonna be the buzzkill here, but what if, would it be lame to think, like, what if they just looked up the Egyptians, and we're like, oh wow, check out the moon. It's moving in front of the sun.
They didn't talk about it because it was so nonchalant. Like everybody knows that. It's
Like
just the moon and the sun. It's not a big
I want to
deal.
know if, in all these stories, I want to know if there's like a little civilization somewhere that just like kind of got it from the get-go.
Right. Like they knew exactly what it was.
Check it out. Like the moon is moving in front of the sun. Like, for a moment. That was neat looking.
The Egyptians had a lot of stuff figured out. The placement of the pyramids and things, they had, who knows with them.
Coming soon, our Egyptian episode, because there is a lot to talk about.
There is so much with King Tut himself we could make 2 episodes out of. I love the Egyptians. That's probably my favorite ancient culture. They're just so damn interesting.
If you believe any of the ancient astronaut theories, that aliens had a hand in building the Great Pyramids and all that, it could very well be that, if we were in touch with, beings from another galaxy, that they may have just explained the eclipse to them.
Right? Who knows?
Like maybe it's just a completely unremarkable thing to them. I was joking about that earlier, but if there were aliens among them that helped them, with these big, structural marvels, maybe they just explained it to them and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's neat. Nothing to write about there then.
Yeah, so they just kind of come down and like, hey, don't freak out. Just everybody chill, but in a couple of days, It's going to be dark
Put
for a
these
couple of minutes.
Put these shades on.
Yeah. They still cost $10 back then.
It's your
in that
Eclipse
time.
glasses now.
Yeah. So everybody back then who didn't have $10, they cut a hole in a plate and did like you did, which was awesome. So
Grab your cereal boxes.
Yeah.
An astronomical calendar from the 11th or 12th century predicted an eclipse that took place on July 11th, 1991. Solar eclipses were known as Chi Balkin, or to eat the sun. What they understood or believed about eclipses is unknown, however. The Mayans, with missionaries destroying almost all the written records in the 1600s. I'm going to toss this out there. What if the Mayans are with these aliens somewhere?
That's a good theory as well.
I guess. Just the thought.
Discount that, you know? I mean,
the Mayans are, they're interesting folks, aren't they? I joke about them not finishing their calendar, but that's just a funny, you know, but seriously, the Mayans are also a very interesting culture. Most cultures are, but anyway.
You know what? We say this, like, we'll do that sometime as an episode. Let's go ahead and book it now. Next episode, let's do ancient Egypt and the Mayans.
You got it. I'm down for that.
Let's just make it a full ancient cultures, so
Well-
we can have random stuff too.
Well, you know what? If we have stuff left over for other cultures, then we'll do Romans and Greeks next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their mythology is very paranormal in a lot of ways and alien involved and things. So, you know, we can definitely do that. I'm down for that. So hopefully, anybody listening to the show, do they want to hear about Egypt and the Mayans and whatever else? If you do, let us know, because it would help us plan shows. Darkfall says, interesting, the time covered by the Mayan calendar, about 36,000 years, is about the time astronomers think it takes for a full galactic revolution. And he's down for an Egyptian episode.
All right.
Yeah,
So you heard it here. Next week is the ancient Egypt, ancient aliens episode.
Yeah, and I might, before the show, sneak in Walk Like an Egyptian, if everybody...
I'll sing it for you, personally.
All right, now let's move on to the Hindus. Okay,
Wait,
go ahead.
Before we do, I just wanted to say on the note of that Mayan calendar, I've heard it said that they believe, like he mentioned the galactic revelation, they believe that in a lot of rebirths and, you know, cycles?
Yes.
And they believe, like, it's thought that they stopped the calendar when they did because that's when they thought a new cycle would begin.
Right. No, yeah, I'm aware of that. It was a joke.
So by a galactic revolution, you mean that's when the Milky Way has rotated in a full cycle?
Yeah. He says,
okay.
yeah, but I think that he's probably speaking to what Megan just said, but I think so. I've heard that as well, but I didn't bring it up because I'm not sure of the details on that one. I tried not to dig too much into any because I didn't want to get stuck on any one tonight. It's really good that you brought up that we can do the Egyptians next week, because that means I have a lot to say about that culture, but I didn't want to spend the whole show tonight on it. It's interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mummies and such.
Like, even if you don't get into the paranormal at all, it's just a fascinating culture,
right,
to study.
Hester Prine has been to the Mayan ruins, and it was a wonderful experience.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. I would love to hear that. To hear more about that, if you'd be willing to tell us about it. If you have any pictures or anything, we won't share them if you don't want us to. Just pure interest. Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. All right, now the Hindu mythology is one of my favorites. This is a fun story. There's a long story that's romantic and makes it kind of awesome. Well, maybe not so much romantic. It's romanticized. It's a good story, you know. All right, in ancient Hindu mythology, the demon Rahu is beheaded by Vishnu for drinking the nectar of the gods. Rahu, or Kalarahu, had planned to achieve immortality by drinking the nectar and disguises himself as a woman to win a place at the gods' banquet. When Vishnu realizes the crime, he cuts off the head of Rahu, and it flies across the sky, swallowing the sun and causing an eclipse. Now, let me tell you just a little bit more. The reason eclipse takes as long as it does, according to them, is that's how long it takes him to swallow it and it come out of his neck that was ripped from his body.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought that one was neat. Yeah, in a terrible kind of beheaded kind of way. It's a neat story, though.
Now, I have a little bit more on the Hindus, if I could share with you.
Sure.
Some refrain from romping during the solar or lunar eclipses. Oh no, it went away.
Is that like
romping? Yeah.
Ooh.
They don't do that around the eclipse.
See, for
time.
once, I didn't have the joke ready for that, and then here you go. All right.
How can anyone refrain from their romping? Though?
Right. LED light. It's like romping in a black light. That's the best time.
Some are so observant that they clean the entire house and throw away any cooked food because it becomes impure, and then they will chant until the eclipse is over before taking a ritualistic bath and going out to give charitable donations to get away all the bad mojo.
The bad juju, yeah.
Yeah, the juju, that's it.
Wow. That's extreme.
Yeah.
I can dig that, though. I mean, you just kind of make up your own way back then. You don't know what's happening. You just kind of, this probably seems right.
Yeah.
Let's rid of weirdness.
Yeah.
And if that's what it takes, go right ahead.
If you think about it, people back then had complete faith, no doubt in their belief system at all.
Right.
So, I don't know that it was really a matter of, I'm not sure what's going on. I think that they really, truly, in their deepest of, beliefs, believe that, the sun is being swallowed by this creature or,
yeah,
or
right,
whatever is happening, apply it to any of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's what's fascinating about it. It's like, it wasn't, to them, it was not a myth. Like, that is what is happening.
Right.
Without a shadow of a doubt, a giant frog is eating the sun.
Megan, did you have anything else on the Hindu?
Well, not the Hindu specifically, but in India there's some folklore, and they believe that the eclipse can harm pregnant women, so they would lock themselves up in their homes. They believe that the rays of the eclipse would harm their babies, and they'd be born with birthmarks or the cleft lips.
I can understand that one, though. I really can. That one I understand, because with how weird it looks out.
Yeah, they wanted to protect themselves and their babies.
Yeah. So, pregnant women in India, you should stay in and smoke. Just chill. No, you shouldn't smoke, right? No, that's not good either. No. That's proven as well. The eclipse isn't going to hurt your baby, but don't smoke either. I do not condone that. I'm just a terrible joke teller. So, all right, let's move on to the Greeks. I love the Greeks, man. Come on. Yeah. The Romans and the Greeks are so interesting. It's where you get Socrates. That's kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Socrates.
Ted Theodore Logan and Bill S. Preston. The Wild Stallions. All right. In 2008, researchers said a reference to a total eclipse was found in Homer's Odyssey. If you're not familiar, it is not Homer Simpson. Homer's Odyssey, with the lines, "The sun has perished out of heaven, and an evil mist has overspread the world." The ancient Greeks believed a total eclipse to be a bad omen. Sounds familiar, huh? Mm-hmm. They thought that it signaled that the gods were angry, and that it marked the beginning of disasters and destruction. Are they right? Who's to say? Now, maybe. I don't know. Things didn't quite go insane, but then you think about Yosemite or Yellowstone, yeah, and you think about Oregon. Potentially, it could have happened, but I guess that maybe they're not exactly correlating. That's my belief on it. I don't think that the world's going to go crazy because of an eclipse. Call me current, call me modern, call me a believer in science, but I don't think that's going to quite happen. Ryan, are you still with us?
I am.
Okay. Things were just sounding kind of funky. I didn't know if we lost you again. Again, anybody, if you have any problems with Ryan's noise or whatever, it's his phone. His internet is wacky tonight, so try to overlook it. Cut us a little slack. All right,
but not wacky in a good way.
Right, not wacky in a fun kind of clown kind of way. Oh, I said I wouldn't mention clowns, and there I went. All right.
Sorry, Faith.
Sorry, Faith. I mentioned clowns. I didn't even mean to. It wasn't even a joke.
Have you checked your clown door today for a public service announcement?
Yes, have you checked your clown door?
Stop it.
You know what? I bet I've got some clown music. Should I?
You promised.
I said I wouldn't talk about clowns. I never
What
promised.
is clown music? Like,
I've got some evil clown music laying around here somewhere. Maybe I can find that. So, well, there's
welcome to the Pick on Faith Hour.
the Pick on Faith Hour, yeah. Yeah, the Animaniac way, absolutely. I love the Animaniacs. I like that you bring that up. You're perfect for this show, Dark Falls. All of you are. I'm not trying to take away from anyone here. Every once in a while, there'll just be a reference that's just right. You know what I mean? All right, here we go. Yeah, I found this. I found it. And I'm going to play it because that's just who I am. It's just a little circus music.
Sorry, Faith.
Have you checked your clown door today? All right, now, enough with that.
Hey, there's a new promo.
Hey, it is. I could just cut it out of the show, be lazy, and not even have to actually do one. All right.
That's it. That's all it says.
That's all it
Just the
says.
song and have you checked your clown door?
We're going to start making really bizarre promos. It's going to be like potatoes and herbs. And I'm just going to put that in the middle of the show without any warning. All right. Chinese mythology. Now, this is an interesting one, too. We kind of went to Asia. We kind of got a little crazy towards the end of the show with some of that stuff. Megan did. But there's a lot going on there. And I think they don't get as much credit as they deserve. They're a smart culture. I mean, obviously they are now. They're leading the world. Everybody owes them money. They got a big army and they produce, but they were always pretty slick and very traditional. So suffice to say, they had their own ideas. In ancient China, solar eclipses were also seen as bad omens. People thought eclipses took place when a dragon ate the sun, as I think Megan mentioned, both of you maybe. To stop it, people would chant, beat drums, and fire cannons to scare it away.
Yeah, there's that
Stop
cannon
it,
fire.
you dragon.
Yeah. You
Stop
go.
it, you.
You stop it. Bodegget. We got to do another Napoleon show. He's a piece of crap. Thank you, Faith, for hanging out with us. You have a good night. We appreciate you tuning in. I want to go
You didn't scare her away, did you?
Did we scare you away? I'm sorry if we did. That was not the point. I'm looking at more. There are more. There are even modern misunderstandings, but we're going to run over if we do it. So let's just not. Let's talk about what we've covered so far and leave it at that. That's where we'll leave it for the night. Okay. If we want to do more solar stuff in the future, there's plenty more to do. I've got tons more info, but it's probably better we don't cover it all in one night because there is a lot. All right. So of them all, what is your favorite, Ryan, and why?
I always wondered, and what makes it most interesting to me, the Viking mythology about it.
With the wolves, yeah.
The wolves. And I wonder if maybe they had some cloud coverage kind of moving in, and they kind of interpreted that as wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the eclipse itself happens, they're actually devouring it, because you can actually, if you get a little bit of cloud coverage, you can get beautiful shots of the eclipse itself when it's happening. And actually, a couple of my friends got some amazing shots. They had some clouds move in front of it, and cool. It actually allows you to use your camera without any kind of special tricks or anything or filters. Yeah. So I wonder if that sort of led to that. You got a couple or a group of clouds moving in that look like wolves.
It's hard to say. That's the thing about it, is it's always hard to say, but it just is. It's really cool, though.
That's what made that one the most interesting to me, though.
Mm-hmm. I can dig that. What about you, Megan? Which one did you like the best?
I don't know. They were all pretty interesting. I think I like the Mayans, since they seem to already know what's going on before it happens. They, predicted one in 1991. That's awesome.
But weren't around to see it.
No.
More on that the next show.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with the Hindu. Just not that it's the most believable to me, just that I thought it's kind of a cool little story. It's kind of neat. You know, I tend to like horror movies and things, so that kind of goes that direction a little bit, I guess. I can't fathom thinking that, but I'm certainly not saying that they're stupid or wrong for it. I can't fathom thinking that myself.
It's really hard to wrap your head around thinking that way back then.
But you got to, but looking up at the sky with no idea what in the hell is up there, it could be anything. It really is up to your imagination. It's like a child laying on their back looking at clouds. You know, that looks like a cat or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's called matrixing. It's kind of making shapes out of something. Yeah. So it's cool though, and I guess that's what I like about that one is it's a story. It's almost a romantic kind of thing. I like it. There are others, and we will touch on them later. Not tonight, but at a later date. One of the ones I like. It is a romance story that the sun and the moon. I think it's the sun or the moon wants to be with the sun real bad, and only every once in a while do they cross paths, and he really finally gets that touch.
Oh,
isn't that kind of sweet?
That's super
I
sweet.
want to be with you real bad.
Yeah, real bad. We've got to do another Napoleon show, don't we? It's just proven we do. You still cloud daydream? He says he does that now, and he's 44. I like the Chinese one as well. The Chinese one is good. They're all really good. They're interesting. They feel to you more like a story than something a culture believed, though. Mm-hmm. When you try to really just be like, somebody believed this, it's really kind of hard to sell yourself on that. All right, well, so I think so anyway.
That's it's hard to wrap your head around it.
It is. I'm with you, man. No worries. Good thing it gets dark. Keep it G-rated. That's right. That's right. All right. So let's see. Let's see where we are with time. We're at it's at 1:20, and we've got some listener questions, and I've got 3 or 4 more terrifying tales.
All right.
Yeah. So I guess we had planned also the 1942 Battle of Los Angeles. Do you think we have time to fit that in, or do you kind of want to hang that one for another day as well?
I think that one kind of deserves its own show. That's a pretty big battle.
I'm done with that.
We could do that on the retro, the looking back at stories that we might know more about now.
Yeah.
If it were to happen now. So yeah, we can do that. Let me go ahead and bookmark this, and we'll do that one later then. All right, so I guess the best idea here is to take a little break, come back, do some listener questions, and then maybe do a song. I found some really good bands lately that I think deserve a little bit of exposure. So I like to play a song during the show. I hope that doesn't bother anybody. Plus, it gives everybody a little break if you need to get up and go use the potty or whatever. So that let's just do that. Let's take a quick little break, and then we'll come back and we'll take some listener questions. They're good tonight. I can tell you, one of them's by me, so I can tell you it's fantastic.
All right.
We will be right back.
Did you know that a young boy drowned? The counselors weren't paying any attention. Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
One must never go to camp unprepared. In order to survive, arm yourself with the knowledge by listening to All Podcasts on Your Grave every other Tuesday, or end up like the rest of the counselors. Go to MidnightSpookhouse.com for showtimes.
Listen up, you brainless boob. Do you enjoy talking about 80s action figures and toys? Perhaps your favorite is the Snake Mountain playset. If that's the case, tune into the Retro After Dark radio show. For more details, check showtimes at MidnightSpookhouse.com. It's one you won't want to miss, you pea-brain nitwit.
And with that, we have returned. Let's get to some questions. I'm excited about these. I'm always excited about everything. At least you think I am. No, I really am. Yeah, a coffee break. That's absolutely awesome. I want to thank everybody again for tuning in and listening with us tonight. We encourage you to write in. People have been writing in, but I can't thank you on the show because I don't see your handle. So if ever you write a question and you're registered under a different name than you write in, let me know so we can connect the dots a little bit. All right, so first question. Now, this one's kind of a long one, but it's a good one. When you guys talked about vampires, you said that you didn't think the movie legends were true. I wanted to point out that the reason a vampire couldn't be seen in a mirror was because back when mirrors were created, they used a silver backing. Similarly, silver was used in film solutions, which would maybe explain why they couldn't be photographed. Silver was considered a pure metal, and since vampires were the work of the devil, that's the reason it had such power over them. So could it mean vampires could be walking among us, undetected, since modern mirrors are backed with aluminum or types of shiny plastic, and obviously modern photography has nothing to do with silver. It comes from Ginger.
Wow, Ginger, that's awesome.
Ginger.
Yeah, very well thought out.
Yeah.
Well,
never considered those.
We learned something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
I didn't really think about that, about the mirrors. But that makes a lot of sense. That they used silver backing back then. So, traditionally, it's silver that harms a vampire.
Right. The silver bullet and such. No, wait, that's a werewolf.
Well, I think that's a silver bullet will work just as effectively on a vampire.
Well, that's good to know. Just have some silver bullets around.
But what I always thought was funny about that, though, a silver bullet is pretty much going to be effective on anything. I mean, if I walk up and blast you with a silver bullet, I mean, that's going to be pretty effective against you.
Absolutely, yeah. Or a spike to the heart will kill anybody, vampire or not.
Yeah, so...
I don't know about garlic, though. I don't know about that one.
I don't know. That one kills me. I don't want to smell your garlic breath.
Right.
Maybe that was like somebody... I don't know. This is just me, conjecturing, I guess. Maybe there was somebody that was accused of being a vampire, but they interacted with somebody that had a bunch of garlic, and they were just disgusted by it.
So that's it.
You're of the devil.
They connected the dots.
That's the devil's breath.
It's the garlic that drew him away.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I'm going to say that while all that is extremely interesting, and it adds some plausibility to that, I'm going to say that there are probably no people that are still alive. I've never heard of anyone being bitten. I just don't think, I think if they were, they would have multiplied greatly by now. There'd at least be a couple you knew about, probably.
Yeah, I'm still of the opinion that, vampires, as a mystical entity, I guess, if you want to put it that way, I'm of the camp that doesn't think that that's true. I think a lot of it was just born out of superstition and ignorance to science.
Much like witches and witchcraft. And I'm not saying that stuff's not real, because I know there are people who absolutely believe it is. I'm just saying that people were often labeled as for reasons that would not be related to. So that's all I'm getting at. I'm certainly not trying to tell anyone any definitive answer about that. It's one of those things, like you said, they just ostracize people, and there's something wrong with you. He's a vampire. He can't die. But what caused that first person to be like, so they bite necks and they drink blood and they can't come out in the sunlight? Like, who the hell made all that up and why? Maybe it started as just like this neat little short story at school, and then it just ended up being a thing.
I mean, it could have been a thing. There could have been a cult or something that drank people's blood. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could, in theory, sharpen, my fangs, and I could, bite your neck and drink your blood.
Sure.
Like, that could physically happen, but
right. The immortality thing, though, That's a hard nut to crack right there.
And the transforming into bats or into mist and things like that.
Right.
But like I said in the past, we have an open mind here. So if you have more evidence to convince us otherwise, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, that's a good start. Darkfall says maybe vampires just have really sensitive noses. Maybe. That could be true. Oh, garlic. All right. Not so much a question, but wouldn't it be interesting if one day we completely figure out what ghosts are and it's something completely scientifically explainable? Do you think history would remember us as those crazy people who used to think we're spirits or demons? And that comes from Ben Jammin.
Ben Jammin?
Ben Jammin.
Jammin'.
All right.
Ben Jammin on his basement.
That's kind of funny. He'll, that sort of ties into what we've been talking about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people could think like, those crazy Koreans, where they think a giant frog ate the sun when an eclipse happened.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like, what if history looked back on us like, those people think that whatever was a spirit or a demon.
Yeah, it's the cryptid thing again, basically.
Yeah.
It's just the unknown right now. I think even when it is known, it's going to be what it is. I don't think this one is a horse of a different color. I think this is what it is. I think we just don't know anything about it yet.
Yeah.
But that's my personal beliefs. So
the only thing I can say is time will tell, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Hester Prine says Dracula is based on a real person, Vlad the Impaler. Absolutely. I think we talked about Vlad a couple episodes ago. I don't remember why, but I feel like Vlad the Impaler came up.
Did somebody have a vampire question, or how did we
maybe
go vampires?
I can't remember.
I think
it
he's
was
just
a question.
I told you earlier in the show, I can't remember the title of the episodes. So there's no way I remember the content that well, unfortunately. It's not that I don't care. It's that my memory sucks sometimes. With things like this, I'll remember things that don't matter. But anyway, I digress. I think that one day we'll know more, and I don't think that it will discredit anything. I think this will be like, even once Bigfoot isn't a cryptid, potentially, that it's still going to be what we thought of as Bigfoot if we ever find him. And I think that's how ghosts are.
He'll just have a more Latin and scientific name.
Right.
The people back in, whatever this time period will be labeled as, like, they thought the North American great ape was a Sasquatch creature. How silly.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Or whatever it gets named. I've always thought that's the name I've always run to. Like, if Bigfoot was ever discovered and actually categorized, like, North American great ape sounds appropriate.
I think it's a Woodicus boogerus.
Yeah, something like that. Dracula was actually originally Dracul. They put the A on it to give it that ring to it. If you didn't know that, by the way. Thought I'd put that out there. That's something I learned. Good for me. I learned something one time. All right. This is a real question, and it comes from me. And I'm not being a smart. I didn't know how to work this into another show just yet. All right. This is a real question, and I'm not being a smart ass.
What is on your mind?
All right. Everyone put their beliefs aside for just a minute. If all were true, do you think a creator might have appeared in another form on another planet to aliens, maybe looking like them or even us? And do you think maybe they have a Bible?
That's an interesting thought.
It's the first time I ever thought of it tonight, and I was like, I don't know where that's going to ever fit, but I'm going to put it down.
Yeah.
So
I used to always think that different levels of angels would live on a different planet.
That's cute. I like that.
They each had their own planet.
I'm not making fun. That's cute. That's neat. I like that. I don't know what I think about it. I didn't know what I thought about it when I thought about it. You know what I mean? I'm still just kind of like, It's something that I actually want to give a little more thought. I don't know if it's worthy of it, but I do wonder, do aliens believe in a supreme being, a creator? And would he be the same one to us, and would he appear to them as for example, Jesus would to us, or would he look as they do?
I think early on, and this is assuming that aliens are of a completely separate species than us. I know that we've discussed in the past that there's the potential that they could be us from the future. So I guess this thought is running on, they are completely separate origin and everything.
Right.
I think in their early days, like in their industrial period, or the period as we're in, they would believe in a creator in their image,
right?
That it would appear like them and everything. But I think as they became spacefaring or dimension faring, if you believe in that, maybe they became closer to an answer. And maybe, I think as you become looking to the future, if we are ever accepted into like a galactic community, I think that over time, God would be thought of not really as having any sort of specific image, just as the creator of everything.
Right.
And, perhaps our mortal minds can't really, create an image for him that's accurate.
Right.
We are the most important race to us, and perhaps the other races of aliens would find themselves to be most important. So maybe in their minds they think of the creator as kind of looking like them. As
maybe.
With us, we will probably always kind of think of the dude in heaven with the big white beard and white robes and everything. Right. That image just kind of sticks with you. So
yeah, I think it's more of a because we've never seen God exactly. Jesus has walked on earth, they say. And again, I'm not putting any beliefs to anybody and saying believe this. I'm just saying what we are told, believe that or not. I don't want to ever make anybody feel dumb or wrong for their belief system. We definitely don't believe in that at all. I think that's just sort of, it says that we're created in his image. And I don't know. I think it kind of helps us accept a creator when it's more like us. We're like, oh, we can relate to us. So naturally we see something greater as something like us because we're very conceited folk, of course. But I've always said, my biggest thing is I've always said, regardless of what you believe how you want. Don't let people dictate God for you, because radical churches, narrow minds, they will bastardize it for you. Don't blame God for what people choose to do. Just like don't blame aliens for people who say they were abducted. Maybe they weren't. Let's just keep an open mind and everybody know that it's okay to believe what you want. So there's that disclaimer for all that. Just try to think on your own. That's what it all comes down to. Hester Pine says there are also celestial bodies and... I'm sorry. I believe angels and aliens are part of the grand scheme. In 1 Corinthians, it refers to different beings. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. Huh. You just really brought it.
Yeah, sure did.
Maybe this was a show. I just thought, where is this going to fit? And then Hester Prime just busted that wide open. Good on you.
Yeah.
We love you guys and gals. You are amazing. You help us so much where we fail. It was just a question I had, and it's obviously nothing fancy, but I did wonder. It's kind of like Megan once said, and I don't know if we've referred... I can't remember. Never mind. Go ahead. I digress on that as well.
No, it's just a completely legitimate question. It's something... There are no stupid questions here.
Something to wonder, right?
Yeah.
Maybe are mummies real? Is kind of a dumb question. But.
Nah.
Well, I was going to say the only way to find the answer to this one is talking to your alien buddy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true. All right. Well, if you guys don't mind, by all means, keep bringing the information. That's very interesting. I'm going to have to look up some of that stuff. There's a band, and they were primarily, for the longest time, a Metallica cover band. And say what you will, but they were incredible. They're young guys, and they were very, very accurate. If you look up on YouTube, you can watch videos, and it'll blow your mind. Scream Inc., spelled like incorporated ink. I want to play a song from their album. They're finally writing their own material, and it's pretty good, in my opinion. So if you're kind of into, like, you know, metal, heavy rock, I guess, maybe you'll like this. If not, feel free to step away for, let's see, what are we looking at? 3.5 minutes and take a pee break. Right. Yeah. So, or coffee break, as Darkfall says. So let's play this and we'll come back right after it and we'll have some spooky tales before we head out for the night. If everybody's good with that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. So here we go. Scream Inc. with Machine Gun. What a pleasant way to end a song, am I right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
I'll admit I didn't listen to the last 5 seconds earlier, so I didn't even know that was happening. Yeah, it's pretty kicking music. Yeah, it kind of keeps you awake. Kind of woke me back up. I was sitting here just kind of pondering things in life and whatnot, and you know, now I'm completely off track, so that's probably good. All right, all right. Let's get to some scary stories. You want to, Megan? Do you want to read one tonight, or
sure?
All right,
pick me one out.
It's up to you. Have any of them? I have 4, and I would offer one to Ryan, but he's kind of struggling to have internet at all over there. So,
all right. Well, I'll go with this one you've got pulled up. It's called "The Last Ride."
The Last Ride.
If you've ever been to Portland, or you know that our public transportation system is pretty nice, and the MAX system has a tram that runs between the airport and the city center until fairly late at night. I was coming home from seeing my family at Christmas, and my flight came in very late, so I was lucky enough to catch the last MAX home. Because it was so late, it was just me, and a guy who looked homeless sitting a few seats ahead of me. He was sleeping with his head against the window. I paid little attention to him, but noticed his head lolling around and wondered if he was wasted. Anyway, we get to the city center, and there are cops waiting there, because apparently the homeless guy sitting in front of me is being escorted off the tram. Airport security had tried to get him off before and thought he was ignoring them and refusing to move. And that's when both the cops and me find out that the guy had been dead the whole time. Oh my gosh. He had OD'd at some point before the MAX had even arrived at the airport. We had been riding on that dark midnight ride alone together with one of us fairly deceased.
Nice. I mean, not nice, but...
Oh, that's creepy.
Ooh, yeah, that's creepy. Nature Trail of Hell. All right. What did you think of the story? Did everybody like that? Oh, Hester Prine also. Awesome. I'm glad you guys dig the music. I try to find stuff that nothing too crazy, but I feel like we're a rock audience around here. We like to rock out and think out and I don't know, just be awesome. But not expose yourself outside, as Ryan suggested early in the show. We don't do that.
Nope.
Maybe we do. Maybe we should. Never mind. Let's not. All right. When I was younger, I used to sleep over my best friend's house a lot. He has an enormous old house, which is also quite beautiful. One night, I woke up and went up these long stairs to the bathroom while it was all really dark. And I can't start to describe the noises I heard while I was in the bathroom. I heard steps right outside the door. I heard someone scratching, and I thought, this has got to be my friend pranking me. So I went and opened the door, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. The noises stopped suddenly as soon as I had opened it. I slept in the bathroom that night, and recently told my friend now that we are older what happened, and he told me that their house had purged a year ago due to weird things happening, specifically with his little sister. To be honest, I don't believe in ghosts, but that event was a complete horror for him.
Shoo, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Something waiting outside the door to get you.
Well, the little sister, it sounds like.
Poor thing.
Clawing at the door, yeah. That's old Scratch. Scratchy McManus. That's what I'm
Classic tale.
That's what I'm going to call her. That's the tale of Scratchy McManus. All right. That's the level we get to nearing 2 a.m. All right, Megan, would you like to read another?
Sure.
This one is entitled The Call.
So my grandfather told me this story about how one time he was sitting in a chair in front of the house when he heard his wife repeatedly calling him from inside the house.
May I say that would be hilarious if he's like, my grandpa told me the story about one time he sat in front of the house. End of story. It was interesting. I believe it was a sunny Tuesday. All right, I'm sorry I do this.
Anyway, so he heard his wife calling him. The thing is, my grandmother passed away a few years before, but when he told me that the voice was so pressing, he actually got up to look inside the house, and as soon as he got inside, he heard a loud crash behind him and turned around to see that the chair he had been sitting in moments ago had been crushed by the cast iron gutter that fell on it.
Whoa.
If he didn't come inside the house, he would have probably been seriously injured. Every time I think about it, it sends chills down my spine.
And that story is from a lady named Nugget Princess. I feel like she makes up all the names of the people who email us. Nugget Princess. That sounds right. That's that's one of those, like, that kind of maybe an angel kind of deal.
Yeah.
Old Scratch. Yeah, I actually knew that Old Scratch was a nickname for Satan in the early 1900s. Yeah. I think that's one of the creepier ones because it's I don't know, Old Scratch sounds creepy as shit, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon my what?
Sounds like a good old
Says creepy.
Man.
Yeah, okay. This last one is called The Smiling Man. And by last, I mean last of the stories for tonight. I have plenty more. I might even kind of whet your appetite a little bit and start one of the other ones. I'll let you take a vote on which set of stories we're going to start on next. All right, The Smiling Man. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the U.S. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I'd go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to be afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite. But all of that changed in a few minutes on one evening. Yeah, you never bank on that.
Yeah, for real.
It was a Wednesday, and my grandpa was sitting in a chair. No, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. The far end of the street on my side was the silhouette of a man, and he was dancing. It was a strange dance. It was similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, and he was headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. But the closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky, and he was wearing an old suit. He danced closer until I could make out his face. His eyes were open wide and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off him to cross the empty street, and as I reached the other side, I looked back, and I stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing, and he was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still wide on his lips. I was completely and utterly unnerved. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on him, and he didn't move. Once I had put about a half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty, but still unnerved. I looked back to where he'd been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved until I noticed him. He had crossed the street, and he was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain that he was facing me. I'd looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved very fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time just staring at him. And then he started moving towards me again, and he took giant, exaggerated, tiptoed steps as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone. And he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point, I ran away. Or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I could have, but I didn't. I just stood there completely frozen. The smiling man crept towards me. And then he stopped again about a car length away, still smiling, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. What I meant to ask was, "What do you want?" In an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimper. What the Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just stood there smiling. And then after what felt like forever, he turned around very slowly and started walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go until he was far enough away to be almost out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. So I ran too. I ran until I was off the side of the road and back onto a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home, I was glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his big stupid smile, but he wasn't there. I lived in the city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk nor high. He looked completely and utterly insane, and that's very, very scary.
Shoo.
Yeah.
That's got me creeped out.
That's creepy. Well, maybe with that one, we'll just end the show. That's a good one to end on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're almost at that time, so yeah. Yeah, Creep Dark Falls, I did. Me too.
All right.
Yeah. Well, as always, we appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with us and being amazing and for the feedback during the shows, the help. We don't know everything. We don't claim to. We just bring some data to the table, and we want to discuss it with you guys. and each other.
You help us learn.
You do. You make us better people. So we appreciate it. The huge, as my daughter says, the huge. Go over to midnightspookhouse.com, and you can have all the episodes. This one will be up soon. On Twitter, The Spookhouse, and on Facebook, The Midnight Spookhouse. Contact us on the website and midnightspookhouse.com/feedback. Tell us what we could be doing better, what you don't like. You can do it anonymously, or you can tell us in person or via email, however you want to tell us. But it's just a little survey, and you don't have to enter any information about yourself. So feel free, let us know. We would love to hear. And for me, that pretty much does it. I'm looking forward to Retro After Dark Tuesday, and I'll look forward to the Egyptian and Mayan show next Friday.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. I'm excited about that.
Me too. So Megan, anything else you'd like to add?
Nope. Thanks for a great night. Y'all have a good one.
She wraps it up quick. She's good like that. She gets it out in like 3 seconds and she's done. So there you go, Ryan. Anything you'd like to say?
Thank you again for hanging out with us tonight, guys. We always appreciate it.
We really
hope you have
do.
a great night. Have a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, that last one was creepy. Esther Prine says creepy cool. I agree. There's something neat about it, but it is so creepy.
Hey, don't forget to check your clown doors.
Yeah, check your clown doors. Check your clown drawers even. Maybe you got clowns in your drawers. I don't mean those kind of drawers. We're not that kind of show. I always make it that kind of show. All right. Before I make it worse, let's get out of here. We appreciate it again, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Have a great weekend. Good night.
Good night, everyone.